What would you do if you had just $900 to your name, your last lifeline in a world that seemed to have already taken everything from you? Would you throw it all away on a crumbling, abandoned house nobody else wanted? That was exactly what one desperate mother did. But inside those rotting walls, she uncovered something far more valuable than just dust and decay. A secret worth billions and dangerous enough to take lives. In the rural town of Hollow Creek, Evelyn Richards was 34 years old, a former nurse whose life had been spiraling out of control for months. The small clinic where she had worked for 8 years had shut down, leaving her without the steady income she had relied on to support herself and her 12-year-old daughter, Lily. Lily wasn't just any child. She suffered from a severe form of asthma that required expensive medications and a living environment that Evelyn could barely afford, even when she had a steady job. Now, Evelyn was working two minimum wage jobs, morning shifts at a local diner and evening hours at a convenience store. She was barely seeing her daughter, barely sleeping, and barely keeping their heads above water. Then came the final blow. Their landlord had decided to sell the building where they lived, giving Evelyn just 30 days to find a new place to call home. With the housing market in Hollow Creek at an all-time high, there was nothing remotely in her price range. Absolutely nothing. All Evelyn had left was $900 saved from her emergency fund. Money she had painstakingly set aside, bit by bit, over the course of an entire year. It was their last financial safety net, and she knew that once it was gone, they would have nothing between them and complete disaster. That's when Evelyn remembered a phrase her grandmother used to say. Sometimes you have to risk everything to save everything. And that's exactly what she was about to do. One sleepless night, as Evelyn scrolled through rental listings that were well beyond her reach, an ad caught her eye. The county was holding an auction for tax-delinquent properties. Evelyn had never considered buying a house, not with her credit score and financial situation, but curiosity drove her to click the link. Most properties started at tens of thousands of dollars, far out of her reach. But then she saw it. An old farmhouse sitting on 4 acres of land, with a starting bid of just $800. The listing was sparse. Abandoned farmhouse, approximately 1,900 square feet. Significant structural damage. Sold as is, no utilities connected. Property vacant for over 15 years. The photograph showed a 2-story farmhouse with peeling white paint, broken windows, and an overgrown yard. It looked like something from a horror movie, but it was a house with land, and the starting bid was less than what she would have to pay for a month's rent. Her best friend, Jessica, thought she had lost her mind. Evelyn, honey, there's a reason it's so cheap, Jessica said over coffee the next morning. That place probably has a collapsed foundation, black mold, or both. What about Lily's asthma? And where would you even get the money to fix it? I don't know, Evelyn admitted. But in 30 days, we'll be homeless. No one will rent to me with my credit score. This might actually be something that we can own, something no one can take from us. Chapter 2. The auction. On the morning of the auction, Evelyn called in sick to her diner job. She put on her best outfit, a blue jacket she had bought years ago for job interviews, and tucked the envelope with her $900 in her purse. Her hands trembled as she dropped Lily off at school. "Wish me luck, kiddo," she said, kissing Lily on the top of her head. "For what?" Lily asked, confused. "I'll tell you later," Evelyn promised. "Maybe I'll have good news." The county courthouse was intimidating. Its marble halls were filled with people who looked like they belonged there. Professional property developers, real estate agents, house flippers with tailored suits and confident expressions. Evelyn clutched her purse tighter, feeling completely out of place in her secondhand clothes. The auction room had rows of chairs facing a podium. Evelyn sat at the back, trying to remain invisible. She watched as the auctioneer began calling out the first properties. Most of the bidding went fast, with properties selling for way higher than their starting prices. Evelyn's hope began to fade. Even though the farmhouse had started at $800, it was bound to go for thousands more. Finally, the auctioneer called out, "Next up, property ID number 12983. Abandoned farmhouse on 4.5 acres of land at 1942 Millstone Road. Property has been vacant for approximately 15 years, with significant structural issues. No utilities connected. Starting bid, $800. Evelyn's heart raced. There was a long pause. The room seemed uninterested. "Do I have $800? The auctioneer asked again. Evelyn raised her hand, hesitantly. $800 from the lady in the back. "Do I have $850? A man in the corner, who appeared to be half-heartedly texting, raised his hand, barely looking up from his phone. $850 from Mr. Harris, the auctioneer called. "Do I have $900? Evelyn raised her hand again. $900, she said, her voice shaking. The auctioneer looked between them. "The bid is already at $900. "I need $950 or higher," he called. She had only $900. She couldn't go higher. She had to make a choice: risk everything or walk away. $900, Evelyn said again, louder this time. "I'm offering $900, the same as him." The auctioneer glanced between the two of them. "I'm afraid that's not how it works. The bid is already at $900. "I need $950 or more." The man looked up briefly from his phone, then shrugged. "Nah, I'm out. Too much work for that old place." "She can have it." Relief flooded through Evelyn, and for a moment, she could hardly believe it. Going once at $900 to the lady in blue. Going twice. Sold. The room moved on to the next property as Evelyn sat in stunned silence. She had just bought a house for $900, every penny she had. At the clerk's office, Evelyn handed over her cash with trembling hands. She received a folder of paperwork and a single key. "Is this the Mercer place?" the clerk asked, an older woman with kind eyes. "I don't know," Evelyn replied. "The address is 1942 Millstone Road." "That's the Mercer house," the clerk said, giving Evelyn an odd look. "Not many people around here would touch that place. It's got a history." "What kind of history?" Evelyn asked, suddenly concerned. "Oh, just old stories," the clerk said, catching herself. "Nothing to worry about. It's been empty a long time, that's all." As Evelyn left the courthouse, the key clutched tightly in her hand, she felt a strange mixture of elation and terror. She had just bought a house she had never seen up close. A house with quite a history, whatever that meant. She sat in her old car for a long moment before pulling out her phone to call Lily's school. "This is Evelyn Richards. I need to pick up my daughter early today. It's a family emergency." A good one, actually. 20 minutes later, Lily climbed into the passenger seat, her face filled with concern. "Mom, what's going on? Are you okay?" Evelyn turned to her, hardly believing what she was about to say. "Lily, we have a home. A real home that belongs to us. No one can ever make us leave again." Lily's eyes widened. "You bought a house? How? With what money?" "With all our money," Evelyn admitted. "I took a huge chance. Do you want to see it?" Lily nodded excitedly, her expression quickly turning into one of hopeful curiosity. Evelyn hadn't seen her daughter this happy in months. As they drove through the countryside, Evelyn tried to prepare her. "It needs a lot of work, sweetie. It's been empty for years, but it's on 4 acres of land, and it's all ours." "Does it have a yard? Can we get a dog now?" Lily asked eagerly. "It has more than a yard," Evelyn said, glancing at Lily with a smile. "It has land. Maybe someday we can get a dog. But first, we need to make it livable." The GPS led them down a series of increasingly rural roads until they reached a long, overgrown driveway nearly hidden from the main road. As they rounded a bend, The house came into view. Evelyn's heart sank. It looked worse than the photographs. The white paint had peeled away to reveal graying wood underneath. Several windows were broken or boarded up. The front porch sagged dangerously on one side. The yard was completely overgrown with weeds and brush that reached almost to the first floor windows in places. Evelyn glanced at Lily, whose excited expression had quickly morphed into shock. "Mom, we're going to live here." Her voice was small. "It needs work, but it's ours," Evelyn said, forcing a smile. "No rent, no landlord, just us." They sat in the car for a long moment, staring at the house. Finally, Evelyn took a deep breath. "Let's check out the inside." Chapter 4. The beginning of a mystery. The front door creaked ominously as Evelyn turned the key. It stuck at first, then suddenly gave way. A musty, stale smell of abandonment hit them immediately. Dust, mold, and the faint odor of animals that had made the house their home over the years. They stepped cautiously into a large front room. With no electricity, the only light came from the dirty windows and the open door behind them. Evelyn used her phone's flashlight to look around. The interior was a mess of fallen plaster, animal droppings, and debris. Water stains marked the ceiling, showing where the roof had leaked over the years. Old furniture covered in dust remained in some rooms. An old sagging couch, a wooden rocking chair, bookshelves filled with moldy books. They moved carefully through the first floor, a large living room, a dining room, a kitchen with ancient appliances, and a small bathroom with a clawfoot tub. Despite the mess, Evelyn could see that the house had once been beautiful, with intricate woodwork around the doorways. "Can we go upstairs?" Lily asked, her voice echoing in the empty house. "Let me check if it's safe first," Evelyn replied, placing her foot tentatively on the first step. The stairs creaked but felt solid enough. Upstairs, they found 4 bedrooms and another bathroom. In one room, faded floral wallpaper peeled from the walls. In another, there were what appeared to be children's drawings still visible on the walls. As they explored, Lily suddenly began to cough. A deep, wheezing cough that Evelyn immediately recognized as an asthma attack triggered by the dust and mold. "We need to get out of here," Evelyn said urgently, guiding her daughter back toward the stairs. "We need to get you to fresh air." Outside, Evelyn retrieved Lily's inhaler from the car, and her breathing gradually returned to normal. Evelyn surveyed the property with a sinking feeling. What had she done? How could they possibly live here, especially with Lily's asthma? As the sun began to set, reality sank in. They couldn't stay in the house tonight. It wasn't safe or healthy, but they had nowhere else to go and no money for a hotel. "We'll sleep in the car tonight," Evelyn decided. "Tomorrow, we'll figure things out." They reclined to seats as far as they would go and used the emergency blanket Evelyn kept in the trunk. Lily drifted off to sleep, but Evelyn lay awake, staring out the window at the dark silhouette of their new home. Tears slid silently down her cheeks. Had she made a terrible mistake? Had she risked everything, only to end up homeless anyway? Chapter 5. A strange visitor. The next morning, they were awakened by the sound of a vehicle coming up the driveway. An old pickup truck parked beside them, and an elderly woman with silver hair emerged, carrying a basket. Evelyn got out of the car, cautiously. "Good morning," the woman called. "I thought I saw lights up here last night. I'm Iris Carter. I live down the road." She held out the basket. "Brought you some breakfast. Figured you might need it." Evelyn accepted the basket, which contained still warm muffins, a thermos of coffee, and a bottle of orange juice. "Thank you," Evelyn said, touched by the woman's kindness. "Iris," Evelyn said slowly, "we just bought this place." Iris raised her eyebrows. "You did? Well, you're the first person brave enough to step foot in there since Josephine Mercer disappeared." "Disappeared?" Evelyn repeated, puzzled. "Back in '89, Josephine just vanished one day, Iris said. Some say she just up and left. But she wasn't the type. Left everything behind. Her clothes, her car, her personal items. The police investigated, but they never found a trace. Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine. Why would she leave everything? Iris lowered her voice. That's why folks around here say the place is cursed. Been sitting empty ever since. Lily, now standing beside Evelyn, asked, "Do you think it's really cursed?" Iris smiled at her. "I don't believe in curses, young lady, but I do believe some houses hold on to memories." Josephine was a good woman, helped a lot of people around here with her remedies when they couldn't afford doctors. Remedies? Evelyn asked, intrigued. She was an herbalist, grew all sorts of medicinal plants on this property. People came from miles around when they needed healing. Evelyn felt a connection forming between herself and the woman who had lived in their house before. Chapter 6: Uncovering the Truth. Over the next few days, Evelyn spent most of her time cleaning what she could of the house, determined to make it at least somewhat livable. Meanwhile, Lily had been exploring the overgrown property. One afternoon, Lily came rushing into the house, her face alight with excitement. "Mom, there are apple trees back there, tons of them." Evelyn smiled, glad to see her daughter excited about something. But there was more, and Lily says some of the plants growing everywhere are herbs, not just weeds, she added, looking over at Iris, who had stopped by again to offer help. "Herbs, you say?" Evelyn asked. Lily nodded. "I remember what Grandma said about herbs. There's lavender, thyme, mint, and some others I don't recognize." Evelyn remembered Iris's words about Josephine's herb garden. Her heart skipped a beat. She'd been living here for days without knowing just how much potential this land had. As the days passed, the connection between her and Josephine Mercer seemed to grow stronger. Josephine, it turned out, had cultivated rare plants decades before Evelyn even thought about buying the property. One evening, as Evelyn was cleaning a room that would eventually become Lily's bedroom, she noticed something odd. One of the floorboards felt loose underfoot. Curiosity piqued. She pried it up with a screwdriver. Beneath the board was a small, rusted metal box. Evelyn's hands trembled as she pulled it out. It was old, tarnished, but intact. She carefully opened the box and found 3 items: a leather-bound journal, a small stack of photographs, and a heavy brass key. Chapter 7: Josephine's Legacy. Evelyn opened the journal first. It was soft with age, the pages yellowing at the edges. The first entry read, "Property of Josephine Eleanor Mercer, 1982. Josephine's handwriting was neat and precise. The early entries were filled with excitement as she set up her new life. There were sketches of garden layouts, lists of medicinal plants, and notes on the local ecosystem. Josephine had been more than an herbalist. She was a brilliant researcher with a degree in botanical biochemistry from Cornell University. She had left behind her career in pharmaceutical research to focus on natural remedies and botanical healing, a life outside the confines of corporate greed. As Evelyn continued to read, she discovered that Josephine wasn't just any herbalist. She had uncovered a revolutionary treatment for Carter syndrome, a rare autoimmune disease that affected only 50,000 people worldwide. There was no cure, but Josephine's formula held promise. The more Evelyn read, the clearer it became that Josephine's work could change the lives of thousands. But the entries took a darker turn. Josephine had mentioned someone named RP, likely a reference to Richard Patton, the CEO of Radcliffe Pharmaceuticals, who had shown an interest in her research. Josephine had rejected his offers to buy her work, and his threats grew increasingly ominous. One final journal entry, dated May 15th, 1989, was chilling. "Someone was in the lab last night while I was asleep." I'm moving everything important to a secondary location tonight. If anything happens to me, the truth is hidden where only the right person will find it. RP will never have my work. Evelyn's heart raced. Josephine had been murdered. That much was clear. But where was the rest of the research? And who had been responsible for her disappearance? Chapter 8. The dangerous pursuit. The next day, Evelyn called Sam, the contractor who had been helping with the repairs on the house. She shared everything she had learned from the journal. Sam listened carefully, his expression darkening as she spoke. I knew something was off about Josephine disappearing, he said grimly. I helped her with some work around here a year before she vanished. She was a good person. Helped my wife when she was sick. Evelyn felt a strange sense of connection to Josephine. Both women had fought to help others in a world that didn't always care. What about the key? Evelyn asked, pulling it from her pocket. Sam scratched his beard thoughtfully. Josephine had several outbuildings on the property. There's a greenhouse, a shed, and a small lab behind the house. Most of them have collapsed over the years, but there's one place that might still be standing. It's worth a look. That evening, after Lily had gone to sleep, Sam and Evelyn went out to explore the property further. The greenhouse had long been destroyed, and the shed was mostly ruined. But behind the house, through the thick brush, they found a small, solid structure, what appeared to be Josephine's laboratory. The door was rusted but intact, and the brass key fit perfectly into the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a small room that had been preserved much better than the house itself. The shelves were lined with equipment, jars of dried plants, and a workbench covered in old notebooks. On one of the walls, diagrams and notes were protected by glass frames. At the center of the workbench, Evelyn found a small safe, which also had a keyhole matching her brass key. Evelyn opened the safe and found several notebooks filled with detailed formulas, molecular diagrams, and experimental results, all in Josephine's precise handwriting. The final notebook contained a formula that looked like a breakthrough. It was for a compound derived from a specific plant hybrid, with documented results showing 94% efficacy in treating Carter syndrome. Sam looked over Evelyn's shoulder and whistled. "This is the real deal," he said quietly. "If Josephine's formula is correct, it could save lives." The last item in the safe was an envelope, which Evelyn opened with shaking hands. Inside, there was a letter written by Josephine herself, dated May 16th, 1989. "If you're reading this, I am likely gone. Richard Patton of Radcliffe Pharmaceuticals has threatened me repeatedly over my refusal to sell my research. I've hidden copies of my research in multiple locations, along with evidence of patents and threats. If anything happens to me, the truth must come out." Evelyn's blood ran cold. She was sitting on the edge of something much bigger than a simple house renovation. Josephine had been killed for her research, and now the same forces were targeting Evelyn. Chapter 9. The threats begin the next day. Evelyn shared her findings with Dr. Emily Clark, a former colleague from the hospital who had become a respected medical researcher. "This is groundbreaking," Dr. Clark said after reviewing the research. Josephine Mercer developed a therapeutic protocol for Carter syndrome that's years ahead of modern science. Evelyn's heart sank as she realized the magnitude of what she had discovered. But with the discovery came danger. Evelyn's phone rang late one evening. A smooth, deep voice on the other end of the line sent a shiver down her spine. "Miss Richards, I understand you've acquired the property at Millstone Road. Radcliffe Pharmaceuticals is interested in acquiring it and its contents. I'm offering you $250,000 cash for the house and everything associated with it." Evelyn's mind reeled. She had barely paid $900 for the house, and now Radcliffe was offering a fortune to take it all back. "I'm not interested in selling," Evelyn replied firmly. "I suggest you reconsider. Miss Richards, the voice said coldly. This is not a negotiation. You're in over your head. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. That night, Evelyn discovered that someone had tampered with Lily's asthma inhaler, replacing the medication with water. The next morning, as they prepared to leave for the day, Sam noticed something terrifying. Someone had cut the brake lines on Evelyn's car. They were not just being intimidated. Someone was trying to kill them. Chapter 10. Justice and Revelation. The situation quickly escalated. Evelyn and Sam had gathered enough evidence to make a move, but they needed more support. They reached out to the FBI, sharing the tape of Richard Patton's threats to Josephine and the coordinates she had provided for the hidden research. Soon, the FBI confirmed that they had found human remains at the coordinates Josephine had given, and the identity was confirmed to be Josephine Mercer. Richard Patton, now in his 80s, was arrested and charged with Josephine's murder. The full truth of the conspiracy began to emerge, and Radcliffe Pharmaceuticals was dragged into the public eye. Their stock plummeted, and several executives were implicated in a cover-up that spanned decades. Meanwhile, Evelyn worked with Dr. Clark to file for patents on Josephine's formula, ensuring that the treatment would be made available at affordable prices, as Josephine had intended. With the help of the community, the farmhouse was restored, and it was renamed Mercer Gardens in honor of Josephine's legacy. Chapter 11. A New Beginning. 6 months later, the transformation was complete. The once derelict property had become a hub of community-driven healing and research, with Josephine's medicinal gardens now a place of education and growth. Evelyn had established the Josephine Mercer Foundation, dedicated to researching natural medicines and providing health care to underserved communities. Though the physical house had been restored, Evelyn knew it wasn't just a house. It was a place where a legacy had been rediscovered and where hope had been restored, not just for her and Lily, but for countless others whose lives would be touched by Josephine's work. One evening, as the foundation celebrated the 1-year anniversary of their new beginning, Evelyn stood on the front porch of their home, looking out at the sprawling gardens. Would you have believed this was possible a year ago? Sam asked, standing beside her. Never, Evelyn admitted. I was just trying to get a roof over our heads. I never imagined. Her voice trailed off as she caught a glimpse of movement in the upstairs window. It was faint, but for a moment, it looked like someone had walked past. But the house was empty. Later that evening, after the guests had gone and Lily had fallen asleep, Evelyn sat in Josephine's study. Thank you, she whispered to the empty room, for choosing me to finish your work, for trusting me to carry on what you started. A breeze stirred through the open window, carrying the scent of lavender from the gardens. Evelyn smiled, feeling a sense of peace settle around her. She knew that Josephine's spirit, her legacy, would always be with them, and now it would live on, making a difference for years to come. Thank you for joining us for this incredible journey of resilience, discovery, and justice. Evelyn's story is a true testament to the power of second chances and the impact of standing up against overwhelming odds. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Comeback Tales for more extraordinary stories of courage and transformation. Remember to click the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Until next time, keep believing in your comeback